All right, so I would like to welcome all of you to Thursday Thoughts on October the 19th, 2023. Very excited for tonight. Tonight's going to be a good one, y'all. I mean, I say that every time I know, but tonight is really going to be a good one. But before we get started, I just want to have a couple of reminders, give a couple of reminders to everyone in the room. So remember, there's still time to apply to be a presenter at conference. So if you have a really great idea for a session, we would love to have you as part of our lineup for offerings for our membership. So there is still time to be a presenter at conference. I believe that closes at midnight, either on the 30th or the 31st of this month, but there's still time. So please be sure to visit our website for more information and to apply to be a presenter at conference in March in Myrtle Beach. There also is still time to register to attend the conference. So if you're not interested in presenting, but you want to still learn and come out and hang out at the beach with us for a weekend, we encourage you to do so. So please be sure to go again to our website at www.scamle.org for information about how to register. There is also, this is really important, so make sure you're listening close, like everyone needs to lean in. There is conference grant money available for those who wish to attend conference. There is grant applications available from a number of sources. So you have very little excuse, very few excuses to not join us in Myrtle Beach in March. So please be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the regular places you would expect, plus www.scamle.org for information about conference coming up in March 2024. Also, let's see, please don't be a stranger. My email address, and I'll show you again in the middle and at the end of this session, is scamelepd@gmail.com. So don't be a stranger. Drop me an email. Let me know what's going on. Let me know what you need, and we'll figure out how to get you what you need in order to be successful. So tonight's Thursday Thoughts, I'm really excited. I'm really excited about Thursday Thoughts tonight because we're going to be talking all things ML, the multilingual learners. So my name is Sarah Evanson Atkinson. I'm the Professional Learning Director for SCAMLE. In my day job, right, I'm the instructional coach at Greenville County Schools at Ralph Chandler Middle School. I'm an ELA teacher of more than 20 years. I'm a wife, a mom, a friend. I wear tons of hats just like you, and I'm stretched super duper thin. So we're hoping to chock this hour full of lots of things for you to think about. So we go at super high speed. So I'd make sure I had my pen ready, and because we're going to be jotting down some things, because the time to process won't be now, but the time to talk will be. So stay tuned for a lot of good stuff in tonight's session. I saw him jump on a little while ago. Please make our Executive Director, Dr. David McDonald, feel welcome. He is on the call tonight. And so he'll be hanging out, and I'm sure he loves to jump in the chat and cause a lot of trouble. So Dr. McDonald, welcome aboard. We're happy you're here, sir.
Hey, thanks, Sarah. Thanks for having me tonight. Looking forward to some great content, always looking for great ideas to share with schools. And we're always glad that folks are here. Just a couple of comments, if I can. I know I know you need all the time for your presenters, but just want to remind everybody, thank you for the conference plug. We are hard at work planning for SCAMLE 24. Yes, the grants, there are about 15 or so grants left. So so get those applications in. Please tell a friend, tell your cousins or your sisters or your college roommates in other districts, whoever it is, tell them we want them to apply for the grants. We need to have none of that money left. We want it all gone. If you have an intern in your school, please tell them that there is also an intern grant that will actually not only pay for their registration to attend the conference, but also actually give them a travel allowance to make it to the conference. We recognize that our college students sometimes don't have the funding to go to conferences. So this will actually pay for some of their travel costs. Just a couple other things just to remind folks, your school memberships make these kinds of activities possible, and we certainly cannot do this without all of our members. We're also fortunate to have a wonderful, wonderful board of directors for SCAMLE. I saw a couple come onto the call tonight, and we're very fortunate to have a wonderful, wonderful board, and I'm very appreciative of their hard work. So just want to thank them, and if you would like to be a member of that board of directors, we will soon announce some vacant positions that will be coming open next year. Those applications will be open soon, and also be on the lookout for our awards nominations. Those are coming out very soon, and we would love to see some great recognition for educators across this state in our middle schools who are doing tremendous work. So be on the lookout. Lots of wonderful news coming out. But the only way you get that news is to make sure that your email is up to date on our website. There are lots of ways for you to register to receive communication, so make sure you're updated. Looking forward to great content. I've got my notepad next to me. I'm looking forward to some great notes tonight myself. So enjoy the show.
Yeah, right. Enjoy the show. I love it. And I do want to officially thank, I know I've said it already, but I do want to officially thank SCAMLE, as Dr. McDonald did mention. They because of that, because of the organization, we are able to bring you high quality content that where you are, right? And talking about topics that you need. So thank you to SCAMLE for continuing to sponsor these events. Please make our board president, Jeff Jenkins, feel welcome. I'm not sure if he's going to jump on tonight. Okay, so secret. Mr. Jenkins' wife is out of town and he is on the struggle bus. So if you want to drop him an email of encouragement, I'm sure he would appreciate it. He's playing, solo dad right now. And let's just say that he pulled into the parking lot this morning after I did. So good mess. All right. So we're going to start us off tonight. Before we get started with our first bit here for you to think about, because I do love a good, mindset check. Sometimes we need a gut check and a mindset check. I want to introduce our talent for tonight, our panelists. So excited to have them with me tonight. They're some of the best, y'all, some of the best. So Danny Zimmerman joins us from Greenville County Schools. Danny, who are you? What do you do? What brings you here? What's the story?
I am the ML teacher at Ralph Chandler Middle School and Fork Shoals Elementary School this year. This is my 15th year teaching total, but a majority of that, I think 12 of that, has been in ML instruction. I've also taught in the high school area. MLs are my thing. I love them. Today, teaching some kids, I just get so excited when a light bulb goes on. They're like, oh, whoa, I just understood what you said. So that's what I enjoy. I am excited to share some of the things that I've learned over the years with how to work with these kiddos.
Awesome. Well, we are so excited to have you with us tonight. And I also want to welcome, here it is, ready? Here we go, here it comes. Miss Janowski, did I say it right or wrong?
That's close enough, Janoski.
Janoski. All right. I'm sorry. I butchered the name. All right. So please, who are you? Where are you from? And what brings you with us tonight?
So I am Carla Janoski. I teach MLs at Riverside High School in Greenville County. I had 1 year experience in middle school when I first went to MLs between Greer Middle and Riverside High. But this is my 9th year teaching MLs and my 25th year in the classroom. So I really enjoy the kids. And just like Danny is talking about, it's really a blessing to be with those kids because you get to see them grow a little bit each and every day. And that's really exciting. So I'm happy to be here and help with input if I can.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm so excited. When we think about our MLs, our multilingual learners, we have to do a little bit of a gut check and a mindset check because their experience is a unique experience that many of us have never experienced. There are a number of students who arrive to our classrooms and who are literally immersed in our culture, language, existence, life. And there is no life preserver. There's nobody with them talking to them in their language one, in their L1. There is nobody with them. They're not on vacation. And so sometimes it is very important for us to put into perspective that their experience, their life experience, forget about what happened before they arrived to our classroom. Their life experience is unique from our own. And so that is a really important place, I think, to start the conversation. Many of you have seen this video before, but I think it bears a watch. This is only a portion. A little smidge. Watch with me, if you will.
We have testing all week this week and next week. The tests are going to be hard, but that's all right because we're going to try really hard. Isn't that right, Cameron?
Yes, Ms. Peters.
Okay, great. Everyone listen up. So we're gonna want to work on we get ours from the answer and the information in the story, okay? We're gonna go ahead and test, factual test, and try this actus test. Oh, test your open up. So we're gonna create, you go to B. First on page 3.
¿Qué dijo? ¿A poco va a empezar el examen? No, es una práctica.
We're gonna take notes from the story and we're gonna turn it into a math problem and we're gonna walk through it together, okay? So the boy ran 3 blocks. So everyone write 3 blocks.
I didn't even know him. He looked like a stranger.
How long did it take him to run 3 blocks? Michelle?
6 minutes.
Very good, 6 minutes. All right, so then we're gonna take 3 blocks and 6 minutes,
¿Por qué el niño
right?
corre con los bloques? ¿Qué? Sí, ¿por qué el niño corre con los bloques? No,
Okay, so the
corre 3
question's gonna
calles.
go on to ask us, how long will it take him to run 20 blocks? What do we do? How many minutes is that per block?
8 minutes.
Try and remember to raise your hand if you want to answer, okay? No, it's not 8 minutes. Michelle?
18 minutes?
Nope, not 18 minutes. Yes, Enrique?
40?
40, yeah, very good. How'd you get 40?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, 40 is the right answer. How did you get it?
I forgot.
You forgot. Okay. Does anyone know how we get 40? Yes, Moises.
¿40?
Yep, that's right. Very good. Great. Can you tell us how you got that?
40?
Yep, very good. But can you explain to the class what you did here, how you got that?
40?
Okay, all right, you guys, settle down.
That is so dumb.
Joe, do you want to lose your recess?
No.
Okay, then. Thank you, Moises.
Can you help me, please?
Can you take a walk with me? I don't want you to worry about the test, okay, Moises?
Sí, estoy preocupado sobre el examen. La directora Rosa dijo que todavía tenemos que hacer.
Just try your best, okay? Do you understand? Not importante.
Sí, sí es importante.
You're right, Moises. It is important.
All right, so this is a short piece. It's a short snip of a longer piece. But I want to go ahead and open up the chat right now, and I want our folks to think about I want you to make some connections first. What does it make you think about? What does that make you feel? What does this make you remember? What does this remind you of? I want you to go ahead and drop your ideas and connections in the chat. Danny, what do you think about, though, while people are kind of, gathering themselves, because that hurts. We didn't get into this business to hurt kids. We didn't get into this business because we didn't like people. We got into this business because we wanted to serve and we wanted to help the people who were given to us and who were dropped into our classrooms. But this mindset that some of us have, like, well, we have to do a thing and we can only do that thing in one way, is so limiting, and it doesn't help our MLs. Do you see, because I don't think she's bad, a teacher.
No.
I don't think her heart is in the wrong place. I'm not sure she knows what to do. Do we see this in our schools? Have you seen something like this?
Absolutely. Yes, I feel like, especially in that moment when you have a lesson plan that you've put together and it's something that's worked for you before, you don't see any reason to redo that. But when you have a kid that comes in your room, oh my goodness, especially in middle school, all middle schoolers think that everybody's looking at them all the time. And then when you have a kid that comes in who doesn't know our culture and doesn't speak our language, it's like magnified for them. And so, yes, I feel like teachers often are like, well, this has been working. And she did do some things. She had things boxed off, and the kid was very aware. I'm sure he was literate because he knew what to do and look around the room. But that moment where she tells him it's not important, just do your best. To them, it is important because they want to fit in. And so I think as a teacher, we have to go, wait a minute, what can I do in this moment? She didn't even look at the paper, instead of, in that moment where you're like, he's not going to be able to tell me, he said the word 2 times. Let me get his paper and let me see if I can explain for him what he just did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even like magnifying rather than repeating the question. I mean, do you think, Carla, I know I've met some teachers who do this, but it's like for our ML students, it's not enough to say it louder a second time. Like they're not going to get it the second time, right? So what did you think, Carla? What were your responses when you see that? I mean, you've got a ton more experience than others of us, and I just wonder what does that make you think about and feel and connect with?
Well, it definitely obviously makes my heart hurt when I see it, as it probably does all of us, because that is not intentional. And I can say that I have even been that teacher just to speak louder sometimes. But what I realize, even when you see it and you see it in his eyes, that the child really, he like Danny said, he's literate. So he knows that it is important. Like in his home, the grades are probably important to his family, even though they may not understand American schools. Typically, what you see is very literate kids. That comes also from the home. So it is important to him to do well. So I saw that you just saw him kind of sink with everyone around him. But you're right, the teacher didn't think to stop and look through the problem and tell the whole class. And those are the tips and those are the things that we need to get out there as ML teachers, so that just the simple, quick things for the students or for the teachers to do to help the students.
Absolutely. And when you think about, there aren't a lot of of bilingual or trilingual or polyglots in general running around actually especially like where I am. Those people aren't around. You'd have to go to big cities, you'd have to go internationally, and then you would find more of those kinds of people. And so I feel like we just don't have sometimes the perspective of what it's like to actually go and be in a foreign place and to be immersed in a new language, and how like unsettling and terrifying that can feel at moments when you just need to communicate something. Like, I just need to find out where the bathroom is. I just need to get on the right color bus. I just need to get to something to eat. And I have money, but I can't ask. And we need to make sure that our perspective is in check, so that we do the right things when it comes time to make decisions about the right things. Miss O'Brien offers tonight, the student realized how important the test was. Danny, that really stuck out to me too. When she says the test isn't really important, just do your best. No, he says, no, it is important.
Yes, I've had that conversation actually just a couple of days ago. A new student that came in, and they have to take the screener, and when I tell them this is a screener and to see how much English their face is like, oh my gosh, I don't know any. And instead of saying the test is not important, I tell them this test, the information is just for me. So I know what you need. I'm not sharing this out. This is, I need to know how I can best help you, instead of saying, oh, it's not important, just click through. Making sure he understands, yes, it is important. It's information that's valuable to me so that I can help you.
And I think sometimes we get caught up in it's important, but that doesn't translate to your value. Yeah. Like, it's an important assessment so that I can gather information about what you know and do not know, but it does not reduce or, or do anything to the way I see you. And I
Right.
think that's not an ML problem, by the way. That's a school problem. That's a cultural problem here in America, I think. Alana says, I can't, oh, she says she can't unmute herself because she's in a loud spot. I have a feeling there might be kids around, maybe. But she said that it makes her remember that there are many English words with multiple meanings. So at the beginning of the video, he got super confused about blocks, and he said, "Why is the boy running with blocks?" And so that was like the cause of his confusion. So it wasn't the math; he could do the math. Carla, do you see that a lot?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
of course. I am in a space where I have 8 to 10 languages in my classroom at any given time. So it's funny because they bring so many different languages to the table, which has different nuances and all of that. So they get confused. I often see they will even confuse words in their language that sound the same as in our language too. And even when you're trying to teach them the rule about something, English is so notorious for saying, well, here's the rule, but this is also not the rule, and that complicates it even further.
Yeah, for sure. So you said 8 to 10 languages in your classroom right now. What are some of the languages? Because a lot of times people think like that if you speak Spanish, they think you're solid gold. Like there are teachers who believe that like, oh, well, there's somebody in the building who there's got to be. There's a Spanish teacher, so they speak Spanish well enough. We can get by. And it's like, no, but people come from other places than Spanish speaking countries. There are other people in the world, right? So what are the languages do you see right now?
So I have Mandarin Chinese, and then I have also kids from Hong Kong, which are Cantonese Chinese, and then I have I'm trying to think. I have French, I have Punjabi, I have Egyptian Arabic, I have regular Arabic, I have Portuguese, and I'm trying to scan the room and think,
right.
And
you see
of
their
Japanese.
Yes.
So I have kids represented everywhere.
That's awesome. And Danny, do you see? We don't. I mean, at the school that you're at now. I mean, I think they all speak Spanish. I think we have one Italian speaker, who speaks.
Yeah, in my classroom, yes. But typically it has been Kurdish, and Spanish is like jumped up in the region that we are in Greenville County.
Right.
But yeah, mostly Spanish for me.
Yeah. All right. So now we're going to shift our talking about, so Heather Gordon's on tonight, and she said in Spartanburg County, we have a very large Ukrainian population. And as we, and as things happen, right, in our global sort of understanding of the world, and as things change, we're going to see kids from conflict zones that are, coming here. And so, yeah, absolutely. Like large Ukrainian population for sure. I was visiting a school not long ago, and they had one of their ML teachers at this school. It was a K-8 school, and she was Ukrainian. And so she went to church locally at the Ukrainian church. It was in the Anderson area. And people would come from the church, and her room was busting at the seams. She said, Sarah, I can't tell these people, no, these are my countrymen. And so I want to help them, but like, we have no more room. Like there was a family, they had converted her garage into like an apartment so that she could help a family who had come. And so, I mean, she just like, what am I supposed to do? And I'm like, well, I don't know. You guys better figure it out. But oh my goodness. And these beautiful children are here, and they need us, and they need us. So she was, and so talk about a soft place to fall, like if you've ever traveled abroad and that moment where you sit down in a cafe or a restaurant or whatever, and you overhear someone speaking in English, and it's like music. You're like, oh, and it doesn't even matter what they look like, whether it doesn't matter if they look terrifying. You walk over and you say hello and you introduce yourself because you feel like I'm home. Language is so much a part of that feeling of home. And we can't underestimate, I don't think, the emotional part of this. I don't think we can overstate that at all. Danny, I'm thinking, we see, because the students arrive to us, even when they're local kids, like they've grown up here and they arrive to us in various situations. And so then we add on top of that, now you don't speak English and potentially there are other situations that have brought you here. And I mean, how do we balance real quick, and then we'll go on to our next topic, but how do you balance the emotional part of this? Because I don't think that can be overstated. Like, we have to care for the whole child, even for the ones that don't speak English.
Yes. And that's part of the reason why I love teaching MLs, because it is a bond, especially when you're teaching across grade levels. Like, my students start in the 6th grade and I get them through 8th grade, and it is like it's a tight bond. And if these kids feel like you are about them and that you want them to be successful, they are like latched to you. They will come and tell you, what's going on at home, or how they did on a test in another room, or stuff like that. It's such an emotional thing. They want to know that somebody is listening to them. Yeah. Even if it's, you got to cross that barrier, but if they see that you're putting in the effort to see who they are as a kid and to value the information that they bring to the table, they're just going to be, they melt. It's like, oh, it's a safe place. Like you said, it's a soft spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's important that we utilize strategies in our classrooms to really illuminate and accentuate what these children, specifically this target group, brings to the table. A lot of times we look at students who speak another language other than English as their first language, and we look at them from a very deficit mindset. Well, they can't do this, and they can't participate in this activity, and they can't because they can't speak the language. But it's really important for us to be really intentional and methodical about changing that mindset, because everyone in our classroom can bring something valuable to the table. It just might look a little different. I want to take a look at this short video, and these are a few very general, and we're not going to stay in the general place, but these are a few really general strategies, and I'd love to get your take on what you think.
Many students in the United States speak 2 or more languages. Welcoming the whole child, including their linguistic and cultural practices, sends a powerful message of inclusion to all students in the classroom. As we help students learn English, we should aim to celebrate and extend their first language, not replace it. Here are a few ways to support multilingual learners in your classroom. Multilingual children are experts in their home language, so provide space and time for them to use multiple languages to think and express themselves. Consider sometimes pairing students with a partner who speaks the same home language to deepen fluency and help them build connections between languages. In whole class settings, invite multilingual children to share the word for something in their home language, a pineapple, for example, a quick exercise that feels welcoming and grounds newly learned terms in existing knowledge. New English learners are inundated by language, and that can be tough to navigate. To encode new language more deeply, you can sing memorable songs together, pair words with matching pictures or objects, or ask a student to tell you a story, then enlist classmates to act it out. Little plays are a fun way to reinforce language skills and kids' ability to shape a good tale, while giving the storyteller a moment to shine. Research shows that when kids are learning a new language, acting out words and phrases nearly doubles their ability to recall the words months later. To give language learners a variety of ways into the content, try an approach called layered questioning. Based on what you know about each of your students' proficiency levels, frame the same question in different ways. For some students, a simple question that only needs a gesture in response is best. The next level up might require a yes/no. As their proficiency grows, you can try either/or questions or expand to open-ended questions, which ask students to share more intricate thinking. This gives everyone a chance to contribute to the classroom community, no matter their stage of language development. Offer a wide variety of books that represent students and their experiences. Kids are more likely to read, understand, and enjoy books that they find captivating, which includes some characters that look and think like them and speak their own language. So let them pick their reads across genres and topics, and let them explore books in their native language. They'll be more engaged and grow as readers.
All right, Danny, so what do you say? What do you say to a teacher who says, this is all great and fine and dandy, but you know, I've got 25 kids in the room. How do I do that? Like, how do I do some of the things that they're talking about? And before you answer, I want to drop this in the chat. Drop your ideas in the chat. This is for everyone. What could you do more of in support of your ML students in your classroom? Now, you all know me, and you know that I am all about working smarter, not harder. I am not about adding more things to the plate. I am not about making things more complicated. But I want you to think about just those 4 things that we looked at in the video. What could you do more of in support of your ML students in your classroom? Nothing I saw in the video was going to take hours and hours to plan or grade. Nothing I saw in the video is going to cost any money. And I mean, nothing, it's just going to take us a moment of intentionality is what I saw. But you correct me if I'm wrong. So Danny, what do you think about, what could we do more of in support of those ML students in your classroom? And what do you say to the teachers like, dude, I've got 25 of them and I just don't know?
Right. So one of the things I'll drop a name here. Dr. Carol Salva is a person that I follow. She's an awesome ML teacher. She's now doing her own thing and writing books and all that. But one of the things that she talks about is no matter what kid comes into your room, if they come in and you have 3 kids from a different language or a different country speaking something else, some of them are literate, some of them are not. Regardless, they are bringing something to your classroom that you don't have. And that is what you need to tap into. And talking to a kid and asking, well, how do you say this in your language? And they'll tell you, they want to tell you. And I can't think of a better way to create an awesome community in your classroom, to create curiosity. How do you say this? And then they're more likely to feel comfortable to ask how you say something in English. And another thing is that, as these kids learn English, their vocabulary is going to be larger than ours. So we need to keep that in mind. Like, they are bringing something to the table that I tell my students all the time, you have something so valuable. If you can keep what you have and add what we have, you are so valuable in this world right now. And then a couple of the other things, he said doing in the video, it said doing motions. There's a guy on YouTube, and I can't remember his name now. I mean, he takes individual words and he does the sign language for just 1 or 2 things. And I was co-teaching in the science class at the elementary school, and we were doing transform and transfer energy. And I just looked up on YouTube, how do you say that in sign language? Because I wanted to know if the motion was going to be beneficial in explaining those 2 terms. And it was. And the whole class learned transfer and transform in sign language. And every time we said those words, that's what we did. And it's a simple thing. It took me, just a couple of minutes to look that up and then incorporate it into the lesson.
And see, and I'm not hearing anything that's only good for MLs. Like, it's only good for those students, right? It's not good for anybody else. I mean, every elementary student in that lesson benefited from being able to attach a movement to a linguistic acquisition. And then the likelihood of them being able to recall not only the word, yes, I've heard that somewhere before, but then I also know what it means that's got to be their achievement and their ability to work with that word in an academic setting has got to be increased. So let's see, I've got Dr. Marlowe offered, I like to use student created word walls where the students write the vocabulary in English and their home language. We all learn new words that way. Carla, what do you think about word walls? I like word walls.
I love a word wall, and I want to interject. This fits right with that because I have to say, I read one of the best, what I would say, one of the best ML eye-opening novels this summer, and it's a novel. It's not even some how-to guide from education, called Love in English by Maria Andrew. And actually, I am doing a book study with that all this year with my teachers at Riverside. But what I got from that is that the ML teacher in the book gives the students a notebook at the beginning of the year, and it's their English word notebook for them to write in words that they hear anywhere, write in poetry or just words they hear in chemistry class, and come back and ask about it. I can't tell you what a fantastic little trick that has been for me and the students, even this first 9 weeks. They have pages of things that they have written in, and any grade level can do that, because what they're doing, oftentimes they'll write the word and then they'll put it in Chinese or Russian or whatever we have. And that has been like a great, easy thing for them to do. And one thing, tagging on to what Danny said about these kids being successful too, and they bring so much to the table. Just this, I just want to share this. I know it's high school level, but I have 8 students right now in the international business major at the University of South Carolina that started, they were in MLs through high school. So I say that because that second language is so vitally important. And the more that you build it up, whatever grade level it is, the more that you build it up and make them feel important, the more that they are going to perform at a high level.
And I love the idea of like a language notebook. I feel like you can, I mean, they're like taking ownership, like it's their own, it's, they made the book. So they decide what words are important and what words aren't important. So I love that.
I think when you were mentioning someone did the student word walls.
Yeah.
One thing that I love a word wall. I am old school 4-block instructional strategies all day long.
Yes.
I'm old school. I love putting them up there and then actually making the kids use them. That's the whole point of the word wall, not just to stick them up on the wall.
Right.
But another strategy is co-created text, and that is writing something, a quick little, it could be, what did you do this weekend? Or just a shared experience that we had, and they tell me what to write. I scribe it. I save them, and then when I need to teach a specific grammar skill, let's say doubling a consonant, and when you don't. And we find in our co-created text is sticking up on the wall, where can I address that specific grammar skill in context? Because they created that piece of writing so they can read that piece of writing, and now it makes sense to them when we're trying. I'm not teaching them a brand new word now. They wrote that word. I just scribed it. They just told me. And then I use what they wrote to teach a skill. Like right now, we're doing regular and irregular past tense verbs. And sometimes I can guide the kids and say, oh, what did you do yesterday? So I know that we're going to have some past tense there. But that can be done in any setting, in any class. If you're in science, you can ask the kids, like, show a picture. What do you know about weather? And have them tell you. It's a quick summary. It's also a quick check for the teacher. Where are we coming from as a class as a whole about weather? But then when you see some kids struggling with language, you can use that writing that's accessible to them and teach them something that they need to know from that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. So Shirley MacBell says, as a theater teacher, she agrees that acting out words certainly helps. And she says she's witnessed the success of ML students. you know, Shirley, I got to tell you, Shirley's one of our regulars. She hangs out with me on Thursday nights. Like, you know, Shirley and I go way back. But I will say this, her classroom has got to be the bomb.com, because she talks all the time about how fun her theater class is. And I like want to just go drop in and go visit her one day. Like, I'm going to surprise her one day. I'm going to find her and I'm going to drop in one day. I promise you, Shirley, I'm coming for you. But the whole idea of acting out words, you know, that builds language and understanding. And it's not necessarily like, I mean, sometimes people think like, oh gosh, I'm not that emotive, or I'm not that dramatic, or I can't possibly pull that off. It doesn't fit with my personality. But what you were talking about, Danny, with like being able to show transfer and being able to show it with our bodies, that can be super powerful for kids. Like this idea of just like acting it out, using our body to show the learning so that we acquire it quicker.
Right. And I even today we were practicing prepositions and I gave them all a piece of candy and I was like, don't eat it yet. And I said, okay, take your piece of candy and show me up, show me down, show me around, across, all the words that we'd been working. And they were like moving it to show me that they could do it. And finally we ended with into, and I'm like, okay, you can put it into your mouth. And that's like not even really acting it out, but they are doing the word.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Miss O'Brien says pairing students with the same interests, even though they may not speak the same language. I think that's really interesting, Carla. Like for the social part of this is really important, because these kids tend to feel very isolated.
Yes.
But then what they feel isolated socially, then we kind of isolate them academically. And then sometimes, and this is not good, but I've been there, done that, where you just need to get this lesson out. And so you pair them with a student who speaks the same language they do. And this pressure on that student to translate, communicate, help, assist, support, tutor, love on them, encourage them is really heavy, is really heavy.
Right. I definitely think that's the case. And kids, some of the kids who speak at a higher level will even verbalize that at times, or he can't do this. But I also think if you already know what your lesson's going to be and you're intentionally pairing students, you can provide whoever the partner is with a sentence frame and things to frame out to help them walk through with what you want them to do. And oftentimes students need a guide anyway of where you're headed. So adding that into a sentence frame or something where that kid can be successful into the group helps everyone in the group. And it definitely helps that kid to reach out and make more friends. And what I see is that when these kids make one friend, just oftentimes it's one, and then you will see it multiply. But they will open up and begin to grow. And then they learn our everyday language and then can build the content language after that. But they have to be socially stable before we can get them to grow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love the idea though. And I love that working towards social stability. And we have to take care of that emotional part. You know, we got to make sure they're fed and taken care of, and you know, that they feel safe in our location before we can expect them to start learning about heat transfer and, you know, you name it, all these like high level, really specialized, really academic concepts that are hard for our students who speak English, frankly. So absolutely. Nikki says, providing a literacy rich environment with a ton of visuals, How important are visuals, Danny? Because we underestimate that, I think, you know, especially when we get to the secondary level. For whatever reason, everybody is really high on note taking, and it drives me up a wall because I hate taking notes because I'm an auditory learner. And so like when people say, because I'll go do observations or I'll go to meetings and things, and I'll leave there and I'll maybe jot down 3 or 4 things that like I really don't want to forget, or titles of books or things. But like in general, I can pretty much tell you what we talked about in each portion of the meeting, like as long as I'm paying attention. And I think a lot of our kids are like that too, but we love a good note. in the secondary
Yeah.
level, and it drives me nuts.
It drives me crazy too. Mainly because just like I was saying with the word wall, the whole point of the word wall is that the kids actually interact with it.
Yes.
And if you don't use the notes for anything except to write down, I mean, if you could argue for me that they are going to interact with the notes that they're writing, then maybe, but I think one thing I've told teachers before is as a teacher, you really want to explain. That's our job, right? We're explaining, we're teaching, we want to make sure we understand.
Right.
But when we're talking with MLs, more words is detrimental. The more words you say, the more confused they are, especially when you're reading a text. And honestly, it's going to help everybody to add a picture. There is nothing wrong with adding a picture. I think becoming an ML teacher really helps you hone down on a strategy, or sorry, on a standard and what it is specifically that you're trying to teach. And really making sure you're trying to get to that goal instead of, oh, let me create all this wonderful stuff and they're going to write this paragraph and they're going to do this. And really, we just need, can they do this one thing? And
right.
using pictures, and I've accommodated some tests before where I'm like, you have so many words in this question. All we want to know is if the kid knows where this world leader was from. So can we just ask, where is he from? And
Right.
simplifying things.
Absolutely. And I think, Coach Goodman offers tonight, Adrian, collaborative learning. And we're going to talk about collaborative learning in a minute, because I think collaboration is so important for our MLs, so important on the social side and the academic side. And guess what? What's good for them is good for everybody else in the room. If I have to say that louder for people in the back, I will. I'm not afraid. And he says collaborative learning, visual cues and prompts, and differentiating instruction. We're not talking, differentiation is not dumbing anything down. We're creating an access pathway to really complicated concepts. Whether or not it's in their home language is really not important. But if we want to get to the root, like Danny was talking about, of what is at the base of these standards, we have to really, really, really think about what do our visual cues and prompts really, what do they really prompt? So we have to understand the standards to a really significantly deep level to understand exactly what the standard is actually asking of our children. And we totally have to offer, and Adrian to the rescue one more time, various ways to demonstrate understanding. Our kids have to be able to communicate with us in different ways. There's not one way that we can show that we understand something. Just like if I come to your meeting and I don't take any notes, I'm not being rude, disrespectful, or a poor student. I'm doing it in my way. And guess what? I can write a beautiful report and I know exactly what was said and in the order it was said, because I know that about myself. So, Carla, talk to me a little bit about various ways to demonstrate understanding. Our teachers struggle with this sometimes because they say, nope, they have to write a 5-paragraph essay with a thesis statement and that's it. And it's like, well, but maybe they could write a really great paragraph and they could show us they understand too, and we could still get at what we need today versus having to wait until we're ready for an essay, which may not be this school year, maybe in a future time.
That is true. I think that, first of all, like you guys have said, as long as you understand what you're teaching and the content you want, that always helps lead us in the right direction. One of the most successful teachers, I think, in our building teaches science upstairs, and he gives a choice board for each of his units. And they have a choice of for each unit or whatever, several things that have to be turned in, but not everyone has to write an essay to get it done. They have all different activities. And so then it suits whatever modality they are learning. And my MLs thrive in there because they're able to draw something out. They're able to write it in their language and then go back and fix it. Another thing is, I think by when they're doing text, we continue to build a whole library of different novels with different languages that they are using in the classroom. So these kids are then able to check out the novel that they're reading in their home language, plus, or their first language, and plus English. And so they're not asked to read that novel, and we would prefer, they go through and read it in English, but they have the novels side by side to help them through. And it is amazing to watch those kids fully transition from reading in their home language in the beginning to reading in L2. It's
Absolutely.
really
Absolutely.
impressive.
All right, so we're gonna do like a speed round here, guys. Speed round, because our time is coming to a close. 2 minutes. I want to open up the chat. So collaboration is critical for all learners, but it is especially important for our ML students who are at that point. Now, I would even argue that even if our ML students are not in a production phase, they can't necessarily contribute to the conversation. I would argue that collaboration around them, if they have something that they can contribute, whether that be a yes, no, I agree or don't agree, even a sentence frame that they come in previously equipped before they ever arrive to your class, they know what the one sentence is that they want to say, so they can practice it in front of the mirror in the bathroom while they're doing their hair in the morning. I believe that that is even beneficial. I think collaboration is critical for all learners to process through what it is we're throwing at them. And I would argue that's especially important for our ML students. But Danny, what kinds of things do we have to have in place to be sure that the collaboration is helping and not hurting or overwhelming?
Well, I was actually just talking to Jeff today, that those sentence frames are so important. And like you said, for everybody, I think that kids need to learn how to academically speak. And if the teacher in the room is the most proficient literacy specialist, I mean, we know what's going on, we know what we expect. And so therefore I need to teach those kids how to answer the way I would. And so I'm going to give them a sentence, a frame or a closed paragraph, and I want them to practice not just the MLs, everybody, because if you can say it, you can write it. So we want to get them into that. And like you were saying, different ways to produce it, providing those word banks. They can point to a word if they can't say the word, point to a picture if that is what that kid needs. But we have to provide the means for them to participate. And that if that's, like I said, a sentence or pointing, a drag and drop activity, something like that, that shows that they are ready to participate in some way, instead of just sitting them over in the room and saying, oh, they don't understand.
Yeah, and it's not enough. I don't know where we came up with that idea that it was enough for them to just hang out with us. Like, what is that? Like, that nobody, I mean, like somebody somewhere decided, well, it's just enough for them to come hang out with us. No, it's not. We don't learn by osmosis, just by hanging out with us. Adrian says the interaction will enhance development. It's like most of us learn how to play team sports by playing on a team. But it's so terrifying because, as you all both said at the beginning, especially for the adolescent ML, everything is highly magnified. And so
Yes.
I'm new here. I don't speak the English. I don't look like everybody else here. I look a little different. At home, people were doing their hair differently or wearing different clothes or whatever it is. And so it's like all that stuff piled on top. And then I'm supposed to also learn gerunds. Okay, well, that falls a little low on the totem pole of priority. Carla,
Well, I think,
what do you think, Carla? Oh, and Danny too. Sure, Danny, jump in.
well, I was just going to say,
Carla, is Danny always like this? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just giving you a heads up.
no, I don't think that, I don't know, maybe.
I'm giving you a heads up.
I think we have to also be careful of saying, and I'm guilty of this too sometimes. I know in my mind what I mean, but I'm not expressing it correctly when I say they can't do this. That little word yet is so important.
Agreed.
They can't do gerunds yet because they have to learn a verb. But once we learn verb and we go through all that, yes, they can learn the gerund. We just have to get to where they are first.
Yes, agreed. Carla, what do you think about collaboration and what we have to be thoughtful of?
I think it's vital. I think including them, they need to feel included and to be a part of things, and they will participate where they feel comfortable. And in a classroom where they do not feel comfortable, you do watch them shrink into the corner. And I think part of the beauty of middle and high school is that they change classes. So they, hopefully that they feel comfortable in most places all day. But I'm sure, there is always that place if they don't. But I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure we provide that place, which I've said earlier. And another thing when you're talking about yet, those words, that word is in my room in big letters. And we start the year with that every year. I don't know it, but I just don't know it yet. And
Absolutely.
I think that's pretty powerful.
Yeah. I gotta say, Danny and Carla, I know Carla just said that the best thing about middle and high school for our ML students is that we get to change classes. But sometimes, y'all, I kind of feel like that's just a perk of like for the adults too. Like, this is gonna be over sooner rather than later. Like we're gonna get to go to the next place, and it's gonna be so fun when we get there. Yes. All right. So what I want to do now is for our last few minutes together, I have 6:57, so I have about 3 more minutes left with you. I want to go ahead and open the chat. Look, these ladies are experts. Like you don't understand. I'm fangirling over here because I love me some Danny Zimmerman and Carla. I'm excited. So to have met you tonight, and I'm super excited you could hang out with us tonight. And so drop a question in the chat if you have a specific question about maybe a situation in your own classroom where you're like, oh, that's kind of a struggle for me and I'm not sure how to solve it. Drop it in the chat. I have a feeling, I'm guessing, that these women would be willing to entertain your questions. So if you have a question, drop it in the chat. And so questions, comments, thoughts, what's swirling right now in your head, drop those ideas in the chat. What do you think, Danny, what do you think is the big takeaway that like you want to leave the folks who are with us tonight? What do you want them while they're thinking here and typing? What do you want them to take with them in their back pocket tonight? Like what's the one thing if they didn't leave with anything else?
We actually didn't talk about it, so I'm going to throw it in.
Oh, good.
I think it's so important to make contact with the parents. It is by far one of the most successful things that I've ever done is to tell, even if it's just tell the parents, hey, we have TCBY on Friday. So their kids can come to school with the money that they need to do what everybody else is doing. Don't be afraid to use a language line, an interpreter. Make those parents understand that you see their kids. It's so important.
Absolutely. Carla, what is the one big takeaway that you want everyone to take with them tonight?
I want you to believe in them. I think that we see a kid that comes in with a different language, no matter what it is, and we automatically are like, oh gosh, they're gonna be a little behind, and we've got these test scores we're worried about. And what I really, really want the teachers to know is there are beautiful children inside that language, even though they speak a different language. And believe they can do it, and they will do it. They will rise to the occasion. And by the way, I love me some Danny too.
Awesome. All right. So Misty asked a good question. Do you have a resource for basic vocabulary to put around the school in? And then she made a list: Spanish, French, Japanese.
Like a resource to have those printed out. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know either.
For
Misty,
labels?
if you want to go ahead and
Yes.
unmute, go for it.
Yes, if there's just anything that's already created, I mean, I can create it. It wouldn't take long, just basically, I definitely want the students to feel welcome around the school, and I want our other students to learn their language. We're at a middle school level, and those are just the 3 languages that we have other than English. So, but yeah, definitely. I mean, I would love if there's some cards that are pre-made that are a great resource, I'm willing to purchase them.
I can't think of any that are pre-made, but right off the top of my head, what I'm thinking is there are all those Oxford Pictionary Pictionaries. I don't know, Carla, you probably have it somewhere laying around at Riverside too. And they have all these pictures and then the word, and they're just laying around. I have some in my room at Ralph Chandler that I would cut up, because Japanese is really difficult to come by for translations. So
would
I don't know
also-
anything.
I would also suggest that would be a perfect way for the ML teacher to involve those kids that you have that are Japanese speakers and say, hey, I need your help. Can you write whatever words you would like for them to write? And I can, well, Japanese in particular, the words will be meticulously beautiful. But I can say to you that they would feel such pride in being able to be the ones that draw the labels for your school.
Yeah, I agree with Carla. One of the word walls I had at Riverside Middle School, I had a ton of Japanese students there. I don't speak Japanese, and they would do my word wall for me. I would write it in English and then give them the cards, and they would do their beautiful Japanese calligraphy.
I love it. I love it. All right, so we got a lot of thank yous from the goodness. I just lost you guys. Where are you? Oh, there you are. Okay. I am going to go ahead here and I'm going to drop into the chat for you your link for the survey tonight. And remember that when you fill out the survey tonight, you will receive a certificate for your time tonight. And so it's dropped in the chat. Make sure that you pass it along to your friends if they were here also. And I saw a couple people had to jump off. So in our final 30 seconds together tonight, I want to get you back to Netflix where you want to be. There's some great stuff going on right there now. But here are my final thoughts for tonight. I want to echo very strongly what Danny and Carla have shared tonight about the all of our work is for naught if we don't recognize that the students can do. And it doesn't matter where the student comes from. It doesn't matter what their family looks like. It doesn't matter if their hair is different than yours. It doesn't matter if they wear different clothes or their family can't afford this car or that car. None of those things matter, because at the end of the day, we are here to nurture and care for the children who have been entrusted to our care. And so what we must focus on, as my child is over here trying to look for Legos, what we must focus on is that locked away inside of that foreign language that's different than the one we speak at home, locked away inside of that child is so much potential. And we can't ignore what they bring and what they contribute to the awesome things that are happening in South Carolina classrooms and classrooms everywhere. I can only speak for South Carolina classrooms, but that's what I mean. I just want to be sure that we're recognizing that even on the hardest days, we have to make sure that we're focused on that potential and what they bring, not how difficult the day is. All right, you all be safe, be well. Next Thursday, we are meeting again, and we will be talking all things. We're going to be talking all things engagement next Thursday. So if you want to learn more about student engagement and how to get your kids on fire about your class, make sure you tune in next Thursday. Thank you all so very much. I appreciate you all more than you know. Have a wonderful week, and we'll talk soon.